Hello friends, welcome back to part 6 of my Tesla earnings forecast video review series. I'm joined as always by my host, Loki, who is curled up in bed. I'll jump right back to the charts and share my desktop with you for the next one. Now all these previous ones have been the only thing on their chart, but in the case of this one, when I tweet this out in my forecast thread on Twitter, I do a screen capture of it and drop it onto a slide in PowerPoint where I export it to PNG files so that they'll look crisp and sharp and at their best quality for viewing on Twitter. But in my forecast earnings projection model, the live spreadsheet that you're looking at right now, this is actually two different charts layered over each other. And both of them have an automated y-axis and this pull-down menu over here that I can use to pick whatever model I want or whatever site I want to look at. So I will just toggle through those and show them to you after I show you what's on the chart that I'll be including in my forecast. So these are the total inventory, production, and deliveries from all sites and all models. So these are actuals from 2018 through the end of 2022, and then my forecast for 2023. So Tesla has been ending the wave since Q3 of 2022. What's that mean? It means this ending inventory amount is rising as time goes by, and that's expected to continue into the future as Tesla smooths out how many vehicles they're delivering in each month every quarter. What am I talking about? For many years, Tesla was able to keep this ending inventory amount low by delivering most of their vehicles, or more than half of them, in the third month every quarter, trying to get everything delivered to the extent possible before the quarter ended, because it's helpful to your financial statements to have low ending inventory. But the drawbacks that come with that is the larger you get, the higher your production gets. The more your weekly production is, the harder it becomes to deliver all of those vehicles before the end of the quarter. It just becomes impossible after a while. And it's very hard on your delivery team trying to make all those deliveries in the last few weeks every quarter, and then they're not as productive in the other months because there's not as much work for them to do, right? So what Tesla has transitioned into is a more even distribution pattern across the months within each quarter, and that results in higher ending inventory. Where are these vehicles? A lot of them are on ships. So one of the logistical problems you have with trying to deliver everything every quarter is you'll run out of roll-on, roll-off ship capacity for the months that you need it eventually. So that's where some of this ending inventory will be in these future quarters, is on ships on the water, in transit to the country where the buyers for those vehicles are. So that's what this chart is doing. So, for example, this Q4 of 2022 chart, the blue here is showing you the beginning inventory amount. The orange bar is showing you how many vehicles were produced, the production during that quarter. And the green bar is starting with the summation of those two. Okay, we know how many we had at the beginning of the quarter. We know how many more we produced. So the sum of those two is the maximum number of deliveries that could occur, right? You can't deliver more than you had to begin the quarter with, plus however many more you produced, right? So the green bar comes down by the amount of deliveries you actualized, and that leaves you with your ending inventory. If they didn't get delivered, you still have them in inventory, right? And then the ending inventory becomes the following quarter's beginning inventory. You're actually only counting the inventory the one time at the end of the quarter, And that number that you get, whatever it is that quarter's ending inventory and the following quarter's beginning inventory. So what you see is Tesla producing more than they deliver. Orange bar bigger than green bar in Q3, Q4, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. What happens when you keep doing that? The ending inventory balance keeps growing. So every quarter there's going to be more ending inventory because every quarter Tesla's going to produce more than they deliver. Okay, so what's this look like by model? Let's run through them all real fast. So here's the Fremont Model S. Now, I warned you before, but I'll remind you again. This y-axis automatically updates itself over here. So Model S isn't selling as many as they were selling back in 2018. Why is that? Because the Model 3 was only beginning to ramp back then. So people who wanted to get a Tesla quickly, especially if they wanted one larger than a Model 3, really had to buy either a Model S or a Model X back then, or wait for Model Y to come out. So sales used to be higher for Model S than they are today. You can see a couple of down quarters here for when the plaid refresh work was going on before the deliveries began again. And then here's what we saw through 2022. And here's what I'm forecasting for 2023, a little higher, not to record levels. Then for Fremont Model X, kind of the same story here. For Model X, these were also down for the plaid refresh, a little staggered after the Model S went through its refresh, and then taking a little longer to ramp back up afterwards. Now let's go to the Fremont Model 3. Here's what I've got in my forecast for 2023, a little less in Q1 than we saw in the record Q4, record for all vehicles combined, global deliveries. Then for the Fremont Model Y, looks like this. So about as many in Q1 as we saw in Q4 of Model Ys being delivered. Making total Fremont, sorry, there's the Roadster, it's 0. All the numbers are 0 every quarter for the Fremont Roadster. They haven't started making those yet, and I don't have them in the forecast for 2023. So Fremont is growing over time, but they're close to tapped out. They're close to their capacity. They can't make a lot more vehicles out of Fremont. They're just about out of space. So Q1 at Fremont looking pretty flat versus Q4 in my forecast. Then for Shanghai, here's what the Model 3 looks like. I do have this stepping back a little, and it may step back more than this because of Chinese New Year shutdowns, and if Project Highland ends up shutting down Model 3 for very long. But you can see I've got high beginning and ending inventories for the Shanghai Model 3 here. So a lot of wiggle room on the deliveries number to come in higher or lower here. Then for the Shanghai Model Y, I've got a little less production and deliveries in Q1 than we saw in Q4, but then later in the year that'll ramp up, making, well, no Shanghai robotaxis. That's not a thing yet. Then I need to update that actually because I renamed it to Small Robotaxi. Then total Shanghai, you can see not any growth in Q1 versus Q4, but then later in the year it'll be higher, as we just saw. I'll skip straight to the total Berlin because really it's just Model Y. Here's the ramp. So every quarter we expect Berlin to make more Model Ys than it made the quarter before and to deliver more than it made the previous quarter. So this is what I have in my forecast for 2023 for total Berlin. And I'll skip straight to total Texas, where you see a very similar story for their Model Y ramp. They ought to be producing and delivering more vehicles from this factory. So that's where the growth is coming from. It's coming from Berlin and Austin in Q1, not from Fremont and Shanghai. And I think that's my video for today. So with that, let's see if Loki's doing anything interesting. Not really. I'll outro and say if you've enjoyed today's video, click the like button, or you can leave a comment below. It's free to do either of those things. And hey, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the notification bell to get alerted when I post fresh content. Thank you to all who support me through either Patreon or by joining my YouTube channel, especially my executive producers Kathy Kichler and Halter Ferguson Financial. And I'll see you in the next one.